guys, I'm
Hi.
sure, recognize this beautiful face. This is Jolene. This is Jolene from Mindful Mess Mum.
Thank you. Oh my God, you're gonna make me blush.
I'm personally super pumped to have you and ask you questions and hear your wisdom for parents, particularly for mums. So thank you so much for giving us your time and being here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I feel very honored. Thank you so much.
I just love, you guys who are in the Facebook group, Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids, you know that I love to bring different voices and faces and messages to you guys just to help on this parenting journey, which can be tough and can be really challenging and can be stressful. And we're going to talk about, things that are often in our journey as a parent that are hard, and sometimes we second guess ourselves, and sometimes we wonder if we're doing the right thing, and how we manage our triggers and respond to our kids and stuff like that. So we're gonna have a really juicy conversation about all that stuff. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Jolene.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
So for those of you guys who are watching along who may not know Jolene, although if you are on Instagram and you're obviously in the parenting space and this stuff is important to you and you're invested in raising kids who are, resilient and self-aware and you want to be a conscious parent yourself, then you probably already do know her and her amazing Instagram, which is mindfulmess.mum, or mom, I should say. But I wanted, so guys, if you're not on there already following her, please do. We're going to put her links and stuff like that in the live feed, and later, if you're watching this on YouTube, then we're going to put it down below so you can go follow her. But let me tell you guys a little bit about Jolene so that you know sort of where she's coming from and her work and stuff like that, her amazing work. She's a conscious parent coach, so already I love her. And she studied early childhood education. She wrote her thesis on the effect of secure attachment towards building resilience in kids. And it's led her to help parents to help their kids through big emotions that we know our kids have. And she decided to work with parents because just helping the kids through that process doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually regulated, truly regulated. But sometimes they're actually in this stress response state, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So she's found that when parents understand their past, then they can authentically guide their kids through life whilst building a lasting and loving and honest relationship. So we already love you.
That was so beautiful. Thank you.
So what, just before we get started, what drew you to early childhood and development and doing your thesis and everything like that?
Well, to be honest, before I started studying early childhood development and pedagogy, I was just like, oh, I think I'm going to become a teacher if I ever move to the United States, because I'm originally from Germany. I'm German. My husband is American. I was like, just to have a backup plan, because I worked as a flight attendant for so long. And then before I actually started college, I started reparenting myself. And then I started college, and it all just kind of blended beautifully together. And I was like, oh, that reparenting has a lot to do with children growing up nowadays. And gentle parenting cannot happen if you did not reparent yourself or become conscious of yourself. So I was like, these belong together. And after going through college and writing my thesis on it, I was like, we are the key to every human's life that comes after us.
Sorry, my daughter is poking her face in.
No, I'm like, honestly, I'm waiting for my 2-year-old to just storm in and be like, can I give one more hug? Because he's going to bed. And that's perfect. And I just love it that it's not. It makes it way more fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I came across conscious parenting. Where I was like, it has to start with us. And whenever we become aware of this, we can help our kids through the emotions that they're having, because we know the emotions that they're having. We know our emotions. We regulate ourselves and so
Mhm.
on. And this is kind of how I started. And it just, I did not expect it to be like this big of an interest, because the gentle parenting is already such a big message out there. And I felt like conscious parenting in general was just not as present. So I think a lot of parents who tried gentle parenting and miserably failed, not by not being nice and kind to their kids, but by understanding why they're still triggered by their kids' behavior.
Yeah.
So this is
Mhm.
how I started.
So is there, what is the difference with gentle parenting and conscious parenting? Can you explain a little bit of that for us?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I honestly, when I started at the beginning, I wasn't really aware of it first either. So I did a lot of research myself. Um, so gentle parenting is just the way how we respond to our kids. It is a lot of times really like to go to how to message and method when our kids behave in a certain way. When my child hits someone else, what can I say? What can I do? And it's important. It for sure is very important, because a lot of us are visual learners, and we need to understand how to say something if we were never taught on how to say things. And a lot of gentle parents and a lot of gentle parent coaches out there are conscious as well. Um, but if you just go just the gentle parenting path, it is really on helping you how to communicate with your child and how to deal in difficult situations with your with your child. And the conscious parenting approach is all about you. It's not a parenting method. It is really a philosophy of how to live. It is how to become aware of yourself, understand yourself, focus on yourself, take care of yourself, and then you'll be able to actually see the child that is in front of you, because you know who you are, and you can authentically guide your child through life without playing a role or just parent by default, which means just out of a feeling. Like the way you were raised is a lot of times exactly the way you're going to parent your child, or it's going to be the total opposite because you're like, I'm not going to do that way. So if you
Yeah.
were raised authoritarian, you might go in the total permissive route because you're like, no, I want my child to be happy. I don't want that. And when you're a conscious parent, you become actually aware of what you were missing as a child. You heal those parts of yourself, and then you'll be able to actually just focus on your child and yourself in interaction.
Yeah, it's almost like those other things sort of fall away, those layers and that stuff, you know, the programming and things like that. That makes so much sense. You know, when you say if we when we sort of reparent ourselves and are conscious, I think, in our decisions and our responses and things like that with our kids, then we see the child in front of us for who they are and how we need to maybe meet them where they're at instead of just doing stuff, would you say, kind of like on autopilot maybe?
Yeah, exactly, on
Yeah.
autopilot. And I was just thinking about it today when I was driving, and I was thinking about our talk tonight, because when we're triggered in that moment, anyone could be in front of us. It doesn't matter if it's our child, our partner, our parents, our friend. We don't see them as a person because we're just so triggered that we're just reacting to whomever is in front of us. So whenever we become conscious, we can actually see the person, whoever is in front of us. If it's our child, we can see the innocent child that is developmentally maybe not ready to understand what just happened right now and that they actually triggered us. Or we can see our partner who maybe has that childhood trauma and he's just responding or reacting in the only way that he can in a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode.
Mm.
So when you become conscious, you can understand yourself, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be Zen AF. It's going to be, you are still going to be triggered, but you will be aware that you're triggered, and either you'll be able to regulate yourself, step away, do whatever you need to do to regulate yourself, and then maybe find a solution to it. So it's all about the awareness that you bring to yourself as a parent.
Whoa, yeah. So is your work with parents really a lot around turning their eyes inward and looking at themselves and the way they were raised, and how that's impacting how, yeah, frustrated or confused and baffled and triggered we get with our kids?
Yes, and I do love to connect the childhood developmental part with it,
Mhm.
because our kids bring that out in us. So yeah, the parenting brought us to where it's at right now, why we are triggered so much. But I like to connect it with parents ask me a lot of times, oh, this and that happened today, and I did not know how to respond. And that is the gentle parenting part. But before we get into like, well, you can say maybe this or that, it's
Mm.
all about, but why did you feel that way? Like, why were you so triggered by your child lying to you or disobeying, defiance? Why were you so triggered at that moment? So we're going to find out that first. And then the gentle parenting part, respectful parenting part is like leading you or telling you a way of how to communicate with your child, which is hard for a lot of us because we never learned how to like respectfully communicate with a
Yeah.
child or in general anyone when we're triggered.
I love that so much. That is so true. And so I remember you did, this isn't the one I was mentioning beforehand that I said I'd screenshot and I sent to my friend, but another one, another amazing reel, just like a funny one. Please, guys, go over onto Instagram and follow Jolene. But it was about, you guys call it spanking, we kind of call it smacking, same thing, like punishing our kids physically. Can you shed a bit of light on, oh man, it's such a big topic, but like, you know, why that is at best unhelpful, but at worst really damaging for our kids when we discipline, like, and that's not, that's punishment. But, you know, people think, well, I need to discipline my kids. And we do, because discipline means to teach. But why smacking or spanking is really never, ever, ever the answer.
Yeah, I get very triggered by that
I know.
subject.
I like, boom, here you go.
No, we need to talk about it. We do. We need to talk about it. We need to educate. And on my platform, or just me in general, I never want to judge anyone. If I feel like, oh, I'm judging someone, I was like, this is not my place. And this is where I become seeing that person who really is, that is maybe just responding in the only way that person knows how to. But so I never ever want to judge a parent, and I never do. But the spanking part is something I think so many of us grew up with that it just seems so normal. So it's hard for parents to understand, like, why is it a bad thing? It's not hitting, it's disciplining, but the action itself is the same thing with a different intent, I guess. But it's just the action is the same, and it is, in my eyes, in my personal eyes, physical abuse, because we are overpowered of our children, and we have more power and more strength, and we take advantage of it. And I'm just always thinking in that way, what if they become teenagers and they one day decide to just smack you back? Are you going to be like, well, now it's not disciplining, now I'm going to stop? Like, where is that boundary? And then also I always try to think of it when you are in a relationship, in a marriage, and I think I did a reel about, or a story about it. Your partner said, you have to do the dishes before I get home, and you haven't done that, and they come home and they're going to sit down with you, and I was like, going to say, I saw you didn't do the dishes, so I'm gonna smack or spank you now, because I want to discipline you, that you know that was not right, and next time you will know better, right? And this is just, a lot of people say that's not the same, and I'm like, no, it is, because as grown-ups we decide to talk or scream or yell or argue about it. But in a normal relationship, I'd say we would never lay hand on our partner. And for me, it's the same thing. Why would I lay hand on my child for disciplining instead of using words? And yeah, you can still be mad and upset and frustrated, but maybe you learn how to regulate yourself first and then find a solution to it.
Mm.
But to answer your question, sorry, I'm like spanking, I'm
Oh,
always kind of like,
I know this is good. Yep.
To answer your question, the problem is that it is nowadays proven that whenever you spank or physically harm your child, a corporal punishment, that children turn out to be more aggressive later on in their life, have a shorter span of, how do you say that in English? Like keeping calm, finding problem solutions, and emotional intelligence. And also, they will connect love with physical abuse. So whenever they do decide maybe to go in a relationship and their partner hits them, that they feel like, well, that's normal. Because, right, you love me. And that is a normal thing because that's what has done all my entire life. And kids will not learn from that situation, getting spanked or punished in general. It doesn't even need to be the spanking part, but in general, punishment, kids will not think about what they have done in the moment, because punishment is always dissociated with something else. Like it could be as easy as you are not allowed, if you don't clean your room, you're not allowed to see your friends, or you can't have any ice cream, or, you know, it's just dissociated. And they're like, well, what does that have to do with that? So if you connect the consequence or set a boundary with it, that makes sense. Kids will actually learn what the misbehavior was, or how they could do it better if it's like a societally standard of what society just believes is the right way to do. But spanking in general just does harm to children, their development, and most of the time they also seem to rage out more in school. So there are so many things that just leads into aggression towards the child, besides fearing the crap out of your parents. And you will start seeing your parent as a threat and not someone you would go to if there's really something going on.
Yeah, there's so many points there that you brought up that you probably saw me going, yes, yes, yes. Like this is all, we're both parent coaches, so we're both wholeheartedly on the same page with that. And I know, like, I've posted in my Facebook group about it before, and had some pushback from some parents, not a lot, but there are some who really see a difference between hitting a person, or hitting in general, and hitting a child simply because it's a child. So I love that you covered all those points. Guys, if you are jumping on the Facebook Live and you are just catching up, please, like, after this, the interview, the chat is going to be on YouTube, so you can go and watch the whole thing, because Jolene is dropping these bombs of like wisdom and stuff, and I don't want you guys to sort of miss out. So please know that it's going to be up there within a couple of days. And so I wanted to ask you, how can we show our kids that when we are getting frustrated, maybe perhaps they're not listening and we've asked them to get in the bath, or, I don't know, do their homework, or not grab, you know, the toys off their sibling or something. How do we show our kids that we are, and should we show our kids that we're getting frustrated and our emotions, like I often say, our volcano is bubbling up. Is it okay to show kids that we're getting angry and or frustrated and things like that? And if so, how do we do that respectfully or consciously?
Yeah, and that's a beautiful question, and such an important one, because especially if you only see it on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, how to regulate yourself or how to show up when your child frustrates you. And a lot of times it's just like, take a deep breath and then go in, you know, and then teach or guide them to the right way, or explain or set a boundary. But honestly, it is you being you. Your kids don't need you to play a role, and you don't have to play a role. I said yesterday, you don't have to be calm to be kind. You can be very frustrated, and you can tell your child, I am frustrated. But the first step is to know your child is not the reason why you're frustrated. Like, the blaming is not on the child, but understanding this is my feeling and I have to deal with my feeling. And then I can go and interact with my child. And yes, even if they drew on the wall, if they ruined everything in the house, whatever they did, that behavior gave you the feelings that you're having, but not your child itself, but the action. It's sometimes hard to understand the difference because like, well, but yeah, they did it though. Yes, but it's your job to regulate yourself. Like in Germany, we already said that the child already fell. Like it already fell. It already happened. So now it's the repairing part, finding a solution of whatever the issue was. And that can only happen if you're regulated. So when your child has done something, find a way to regulate yourself. And I love to say, I talk in cups a lot of times. So my cup is full when I wake up at a 2, and like 10 is the highest. But sometimes I wake up and it's already at an 8 because the day before was stressful and I have so much to do. So becoming aware and conscious of yourself right when you wake up, like when you brush your teeth, think about what's going on today. How do I feel? I personally journal too and just get like a brain dump on one page at least and just see how I'm feeling. It gives me less anxiety. And then I can be more prepared throughout the day and maybe take little steps to empty my cup a little more over time and regulate myself more instead of just going blindly in the day and then something happens and I'm totally triggered, totally reactive. And then I'm like, man, that's not how I wanted it to go. So listen to yourself first and then find ways to communicate with your kid. But yeah, that's the first step. Understanding yourself and then interact with your child and tell them that you're frustrated. I see you're frustrated right now. I'm frustrated too. I'm gonna have a glass of water. I'm gonna come right back and then we'll find a solution to the problem. Be frustrated, be upset, be angry, tell them, but do it in a nice way without shaming and blaming.
Yeah. I love that. It is so just as you are, like from what I know from you and on Instagram, like you're so real and you're so honest and you're so authentic and you're you said, what was it? You don't have to play a role. Like we are human and we have emotions, and if we are trying to be a calm parent 100% of the time, then we're showing and modeling to our kids something that's unrealistic and not human, and we're setting the bar up here for them, and so they will start to squash down the frustration and the anger because that's not okay. And you know, like I just love that you're like, be you and have your emotions, explain to your kids, tell them when you need to go and get a drink or you know, chill out for a second, come back. Like the situation isn't going anywhere. Like they already fell kind of thing. You can come back to it. I love that.
This is also something that, I mean, I used to do before, was like, take a deep breath, calm yourself down. And that's what I can do when I'm at a 2. But you know what I'm doing when I'm at an 8, 9, or 10, and I'm about to lose my telling my child in a calm way, I will be right back. And yes, even if he's crying, because I cannot regulate him when I'm dysregulated. I'll be right back. You're safe. And then I go in my room and I scream in my pillow or I punch my pillow, something that needs to get that energy out. Most of the time, I'm just literally screaming in my pillow, and then take a couple deep breaths. And then I go have a water, and like this whole path back to my child, I am more regulated. But we have to understand that regulating doesn't only mean like, I'm going to take a breath and then I'll be fine, because you're not. If you are really triggered and over the top, about to lose it, taking deep breaths is not going to be enough. You need to find another outlet. And that can be screaming in the pillow, go outside, scream, whatever you need to do, you need to get that out. I think that can be very, or at least that's what I've heard from a lot of my clients. They're like, try to take a couple breaths. And then in that moment I was regulated, but like 5 minutes later, something else happened and I was just more and more triggered. And I was like, well, you never really regulated yourself. You tried to calm yourself down and tell yourself you're regulated, but you actually never were. You just pretended to be calm, but your body was telling a whole different story. So find a way to regulate yourself and then come back, and then you can find a solution with your child, or you can regulate yourself with your child even more. I love to dance with my little guy in the kitchen, stomp it out, and that just gives me like the tension just goes off. My child's like, this is fun, like, you know, but he also gets regulated. So it connects us too. So
Yeah.
find your own ways. Every parent situation is different.
Yes. And so I love how you said, you know, getting out. I think of emotion as energy, which it is. Like I always say, emotions are energy in motion. And so for us to be able to safely and in a fun way, like release that, like dancing in the kitchen or stomping or something, that's such a healthy way to like get this built up blocked kind of energy out. So that is really cool. I'm going to do some dancing in my kitchen next time, because I also just feel like sometimes.
Yeah. And then we're just like, here's your milk, I'm calm, but here's your milk. And then you're just like, and your child is like, no, you're not, I see you're not.
So let us know. I know that you have a beautiful gift for the parents who are watching along. Can you let us know what it is and where they can get it from? And also, I know you've got some really exciting stuff coming up with your work. So let parents know, you know, what's coming up and where they can sort of get more information about it.
Yes. I created a self-care guide, which just helps parents do some self-care, take care of themselves, even if it's a busy day, without spending any money. And it helps you lead to become more aware and more conscious of yourself. And you can get that if you go to www.mindfulmess-mom.com, and it pops up right away, and you can just type your email and you can download it, get your self-care guide. And that's also my website, where you can see the coaching that I'm offering. Me, and I don't know if you know Maggie from Parenting with Perspectives. She is also a parenting expert. We have not mentioned it yet, so this is the first time. We're doing a workshop coming up in October just on triggers. And it's beautiful. It's so in depth about reparenting, understanding triggers, learning how to regulate yourself. And we're so excited. We're talking every single day. So this will come up, and I'm also creating a reparenting course that you can do on your own time, helping to understand the triggers that you have towards your parents, your caregivers, how to stop resenting them, how to set boundaries with your parents, because that's all things that you need to do with reparenting. So yeah, there are a lot of things coming.
Oh, that is so awesome. So much coming up, so much goodness. And guys, I know we've had some, you know, some beautiful people jumping on and watching live on the feed. Thank you so much. We are going to put the interview up on YouTube, and I will put all of Jolene's links there. I actually really quickly want to show you guys I'm going to share my screen for a sec, because I found the self-care guide.
Oh,
this is so cool.
yeah.
I'm going to check, is this coming up on my feed? I think yeah, it is. Cool. So this is where you guys can get it. It's mindfulmess-mom.com. Grab the self-care guide. That is so beautiful. And then I just love, like, look at the website. Oh my God. Oh, is that you? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So much goodness, I think. And as Jolene said, so much stuff coming up for her, but also make sure you're following her on Instagram, because her account is so awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
Little daily doses of, like, you know, funny and silly, but then really heartwarming messages for parents. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any little last thing, or any little last message or anything that you want to share with the parents before we jump off?
I would love to tell everyone that if you're reparenting yourself and you mess up, you fall back into punishment, bribery, threats, or even spanking, just know that you're not failing. Like, you're not failing. You're doing amazing. You're breaking generations of trauma before you, and it stops with you. and your child is the most forgiving person that you will ever meet, and you always have the opportunity to repair. If you see that you messed up, repair yourself and connect. And I think that is the only thing I really want to let everyone know, that there's no perfect parent out there. You're the only perfect parent for your child.
I love that. You're the only and most perfect parent for your child, regardless of what happened today or yesterday, and those moments where you wish you had responded differently. So thank you so much. I that's just so beautiful. Thank you, Jolene.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. We will see you next week with another beautiful mom or dad or parent expert who's going to share some more of their wisdom with us in the group here. So I will leave it there and say see you guys next time. And thank you again, Jolene.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.